Hey everybody, what up? All right, so in this video, I'm talking about is TypeScript worth learning? And I got to admit, when I first started jumping into TypeScript, I was writing it all wrong. I mean, I was like using the compiler to allow any's all over the place. Um, I feel like when TypeScript first came out, a lot of the libraries and things that we also work with did not have actual type support. You know, there was no type project that allowed you to have strong typing with some of these libraries and things. And it's still something that actually does interfere with your development from time to time these days. But I just want to know from the community out there, especially a lot of newer programmers watch this channel, what is your thoughts on TypeScript? Do you think it's necessary? And I guess that's also a dumb question because like most senior engineers will tell you, well, you need type safety and TypeScript brings a lot to the table, whether it's interfaces. They brought classes before JavaScript did. And it very much mirrors like the C# ecosystem, which allows you to write some very complex code. And although you can do everything in JavaScript for the most part that you can in TypeScript, because obviously TypeScript compiles down to JavaScript, TypeScript is just, it's all about being able to have type safety in your code. So that being said, like, do you think that it's actually necessary that we have to have this superset language on top of JavaScript? And I said preprocess. Yeah, it's preprocess superset, right? But anyway, do we really need to have TypeScript? Do you find it to be like an ugly type of language where you have to battle the compiler? Or do you actually embrace it these days? I'd have to say when I first started with it, I didn't like it. I felt like it was unnecessary. I came from a JavaScript background for 10 plus years before that. And then when I first started writing TypeScript, I didn't really see all the benefits in it because I was just simply writing bad TypeScript. And it wasn't until I got involved with teams that were actually writing some very complex projects, I would say in like 2017. And then even now, like I think the TypeScript that we're writing these days is much more advanced and sophisticated than what we had back in the day. But all that said, some people really, hate TypeScript. They hate the fact that you have to learn another language to write something that already runs in the browser, which is JavaScript. A lot of people like the dynamic duck typing that JavaScript provides. And, they find TypeScript to be just, a headache on top of all of that. And I'm just curious, as far as indie developers, beginner developers, like, do you find the learning curve necessary to incorporate that into your projects? Or do you just simply say, screw it, I'm just going to go with JavaScript? When I first got started programming, it was all about JavaScript versus jQuery, and the argument was that you didn't have to learn JavaScript because jQuery did everything for you. And then nowadays, I would say that the argument is probably that you learn TypeScript first, and then if you have time on top of that, then go ahead and figure out how that's compiling to JavaScript. But for the most part, what the TypeScript compiler is creating for you, you don't have to mess with. I mean, we're messing with much better debugging tools, editor tools that just allow you to debug the TypeScript code directly, source maps, obviously. So yeah, I think over the years, TypeScript has definitely grown on me. And as a developer recommendation, I would say that for almost every large project I see that runs in the web that uses JavaScript, everybody seems to be moving in the TypeScript direction. JavaScript now does have strong typing support with something like Flow, but TypeScript brought that well before that. And it just seems to me that like TypeScript's gained all the adoption as of late. So I can't really think of too many large projects that are out there. And if you look at something like Angular, right? Angular, when they did their rewrite, they used TypeScript, and there was this big argument at the time. This was many years ago, but they're like, why the hell did Angular write their new code base in TypeScript? I don't want to have to learn this. It really pissed off a lot of Angular developers at the time that were switching from 1.3 to 2.0 that had to then learn how to do TypeScript. And at the time, like I said, TypeScript wasn't even as full featured as it is now. But I would say that the argument is pretty much gone. It's almost like the jQuery JavaScript argument where it's like, you could learn JavaScript or TypeScript, but why bother? You might as well just learn TypeScript. What do you all think? If you're learning the code, I recommend you check out my website, codehawk.com. My courses are fast, to the point, without the fluff that you'll find on other competitor sites like Pluralsight and Udemy. One of the reasons why you'll want to learn with me is that I'm a self-taught engineer myself. I never went to school for any of this stuff. I've been doing it for over a decade now professionally. The biggest reason you should use CodeHawk is that it's one price for everything. I try to make this as affordable as possible. Instead of having to purchase 15 to 20 different courses on Udemy or an expensive monthly subscription to Pluralsight, it's one price for everything on CodeHawk. Front end, back end, full stack. It has courses on all the latest web development technology. The courses range from beginner to advanced. So if you want to learn the latest web technology, give CodeHawk a look. There's demos for all of the courses that are out there right now. In addition, there's also my personal vlogs, which I'll be adding more to. So content that I don't release to YouTube is available on CodeHawk.